Britain is on the brink of a surveillance surge. The government plans to expand live facial recognition cameras across town centres, enrolling passport photos into a national database. Some warn ordinary citizens could be misidentified for crimes, while safety is cited to justify intrusive monitoring. With mandatory digital ID cards also looming, privacy experts fear Britain is hurtling towards a society where everyone is watched and democracy takes a backseat. I'm now joined by the director of Big Brother Watch, Silkie Carlo. Silkie, welcome to the show. We already somewhat live in a surveillance state anyway, but the difference here is we're talking about live facial recognition. If you could just quickly explain that.
Yeah, so already we have millions of surveillance cameras in this country. I mean, actually, in proportion to the population, we are as surveilled as China already. Live facial recognition puts those cameras on steroids, basically, because it means that not only are cameras watching you, but they're identifying you in real time. So there is software that's working behind the lens that checks your face against watch lists and databases, and then the authorities can decide to come and speak to you or take a note that you were there at this time. It is the kind of thing that actually we don't really see in the democratic world at all. It's rarely seen outside of China. But yet this government is planning to roll it out up and down the country, and we're trying to stop them.
Because what people who are for it would say, including the government, would say, well, if you're innocent, you don't really have anything to worry about. So what are the concerns then?
Yeah, we must always be very cautious of the nothing to hide, nothing to fear argument, because, of course, the fact that we've got nothing to hide, that the vast majority of the public are law-abiding, normal citizens, means that we shouldn't have the government in our life every moment of every day and watching what we do. And when they want to do that, we ought to ask questions as to why. I'm like everyone else, I live in London. Like everyone else in the country, I want to be safe from crime, but I also want to be safe from an overbearing authoritarian government, and I don't want to live in a surveillance state. That's why I live in Britain, which is supposed to be a free country. And I'm a bit worried that not only with the live facial recognition cameras, but the mandatory ID cards, two things that are game-changing in this country that affect each and every one of our rights and our justice system that we never voted for. If these were such attractive policies, put them in the manifesto, put them to the public. But this is undemocratic, and it's a massive breach of our rights. And this could end privacy in our country as we know it.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
So why do you think the government seems so hell-bent on pushing for this kind of these policies?
I think this government has authoritarian instincts, and we're all paying the price. And the question is, you know, how easily can you roll that back? It's really hard. If you introduce a mandatory ID system, which, by the way, is also a facial recognition system, so that's tens of millions of people rolled into a facial recognition system. The government is also saying they're going to turn our passport photos into mugshots for police databases. I mean, that's outrageous. They do have authoritarian instincts, and I think that we're also paying the price with our liberty, our hard-won freedoms that people have fought for centuries. We are paying the price for the incompetence of the government. We do have policing issues, that we have a broken criminal justice system. We have prisons actually shooing the wrong people out of the doors. And then the country, as a result, is being turned into kind of open prison. Well, we'll just put cameras everywhere and try and, track people down. But what we will see also, and this is where it's really a free speech issue, is these cameras will be used at protests. They inevitably will be used against people who are dissenting against the government. And already I know people who are concerned about going to protest because they don't want to end up on these databases.
Yeah, I mean, didn't the government actually use this idea that we can recapture prisoners that we've falsely let out or by mistake let out? It's like, you're right, just deal with this problem at source.
Yeah.
And of course, I guess what is a crime today is different from what could be a crime in the future as well.
Yeah, it's a kind of, do you choose Orwellian or Kafkaesque? But, these are quite dystopian times. And this idea of retrospective facial recognition, which they're also rolling out, means that police and authorities will be able to go back in time and pick out faces from a crowd. Now, if you look at how that's used in China, for instance, which is a bit of a blueprint here, you can look through, with AI, which we just heard about that going wrong with another police force, you can look through hours and hours, months, days or years of footage and pick out images of one person across their lifetime and create a very comprehensive record on them. If you don't have the right controls around facial recognition, that's what you can do. People always said about, in dystopian sci-fi that people would be microchipped. At least you can take a microchip out. With facial recognition, you kind of have this barcode, this permanent identifier that lots of information about you can be stored on, and there's nothing you can do to change it.
Because this might even expand to retailers, because there's a film like Minority Report and Tom Cruise is walking around and everywhere he goes, they're like, hey, you might like this top from Gap, or every moment of our lives being watched, and arguably that leads to control. It
has expanded to retailers, and that's something else that we're fighting and trying to stop. And I'm very worried that we might see in the new year Sainsbury's and Asda's are trialling this at the moment. I'm very worried that they're going to go for a full rollout because the police have just done it. And then I'm really urging people, if you care about this, which you must, please make a noise about it. Please don't just accept this, because nowhere else in Europe does this. Nowhere else in the democratic world does this. This changes the nature of the country that we live in and makes it far less free, and we shouldn't accept it. And by the way, of course, you get mistakes, misidentifications. And I'm now dealing with several people every single week are finding us and coming to Big Brother Watch saying, I don't know what to do, I've been misidentified, publicly humiliated, accused of being a criminal, I've never done anything wrong. And when private companies use it, they don't even have to give any so-called evidence. They don't have any evidence. It's a kind of data nightmare. They're constructing these watch lists by themselves and operating this technology that is not fail-safe at all.
So isn't it also particularly a problem identifying people from different ethnic minorities, or misidentifying people? And some polling I think I read this week said how ethnic minorities in particular would be very suspicious of this technology and would actually keep away from city centres where it's used.
Yeah, and in a time when we really want to bring the country together, I think that's a really sad thing. But we can also, I think, see why, because police forces in particular are targeting ethnic minority areas with this technology, and there's also the question of who they decide to put on watch lists. The same goes for when we see it used in supermarkets. Security guards, who do they choose to pick out of the general public? People who, you want to make sure you're well dressed when you go to the supermarket in the future, because, judgments are going to be made about people, and they'll be assuming who they want to watch and flag when they enter the store.
Well, I wear a suit with big pockets.
Yeah.
Which is a big help. So you mentioned what people can do to action. I imagine writing to their MP, your organisation, Big Brother Watch. Are there any? There've been some protests, I think, about digital ID, but is it just an issue that we're all just going to have to fully get on board and start going to protests and start paying attention to?
I think so, or supporting groups like us who are taking action on this. There's no time to waste. Big Brother Watch tomorrow, we're going to be on Parliament Square protesting against the mandatory digital IDs. You can go to no-to-digitalid.co.uk, stopfacialrecognition.org. I'm taking the Metropolitan Police to court in January over facial recognition and hoping that sets a precedent across the country. So yeah, we're standing up for people's liberties in this country, but we all have to. You know, now is the time. We're on the brink of a massive change. We've beaten mandatory ID cards and this kind of overbearing surveillance before, and we can do it again.
OK, then, well, big round of applause, please, for Silkie Carlo. Big Brother Watch. On digital ID, Sir Keir Starmer has previously said a new digital ID scheme will help combat illegal working while making it easier for the vast majority of people to use vital government services. And on the issue of facial recognition, Policing and Crime Minister Sarah Jones said that though there were legitimate concerns about the technology, she believes a wider rollout could mark the biggest breakthrough in catching criminals.